My close friend is constantly pulling a bait and switch on our friend group by inviting us to adults-only events, and then bringing her kids so we end up having to babysit them. Posted by u/Seam12345. First of all, I, 31F, would love a real adults-only party where adults can talk and have conversations without kids interfering. She, 35F, isn't doing that. She is having a whole party where everyone focuses on her kids only. I need to know how to address this with her, as this has happened twice so far. The first time, we all pretty much assumed that she must have planned for childcare that backed out or something, but since we weren't sure, we didn't ask her. I think everyone felt awkward, believing they were paying babysitters for an adults-only night and then finding her kids at the dinner table, very actively part of the evening and needing to be entertained. They are 2 young kids. Then it happened again. She sent out invitations for a dinner party in the evening labeled as adults only. However, when we arrived, she had set up all these kids' games everywhere. She arranged the night around everyone playing with her kids, and I could tell everyone felt awkward because people just wanted to have an adult night talking. But she had promised the kids that everyone would participate in the games they had set up, and asked everyone if they wouldn't mind playing with the kids. I know that several people who attended the last event were very bothered by this. People were whispering on the side about how they had to pay a babysitter for the night, and would have preferred to bring their own kids along, so the children could have just played together if it were a family event. We rarely pay for a sitter, so I was confused about why I had to spend my very limited babysitter funds on a night where I didn't even get to talk much with other adults because the kids were definitely the center of the evening. She even stopped everyone to gather around to look at the kids' recent art projects, tell stories, and sing. Is this normal in other circles? What would you do if this were your friend? If I do say something, how would you explain it so that the person isn't mad or doesn't feel like you just don't like their kid? She was upset because everyone left early, and she had catered the event, but I think people didn't want to stay and preferred to just go back to their kids because they felt a little disrespected by the way things went. People are saying they don't want to hang out with her anymore. I don't know what to do. Commenter. That behavior is definitely not normal. What is your friend's personality like? Ops response. I can't fully explain her personality, but I don't think she's actively manipulating anyone, because she's a very kind and considerate person in other ways. It seems like she truly doesn't realize that people are bothered. I don't know if it's because she thinks we all love her kids so much that we want to spend quality time with them without our own kids distracting us. We do love her kids, but I'd prefer to bring my own child so they can all play together. I thought she also loved my child and would want them there to play as well. If that's not the case, then I guess the friendship might be over. Update 4 days later. Hi everyone, I never expected so many people would be interested in this situation, but it helps me feel vindicated that the situation was just as strange as I had perceived it to be. I wanted to wait until the kids were back in school so we could discuss it in person. Luckily, I didn't even have to bring it up because someone else did, and she was eager to tell me that people were upset and that she didn't understand what the problem was with what she did. I was able to get through to her, I'll call her Katie in this post, and also understand her perspective, understand, not agree with, which I'll try to explain here as best as I can. I can't remember every detail of the conversation, but I can paraphrase all the key parts. 1. She had been upset because one of our friends, Molly, was taking care of her toddler while Katie's kid kept trying to show her something. Katie noticed this, and felt bad that her daughter just wanted to share things with people she thinks of as her family/aunts. We're just friends, but the kids call each other aunts, and they refer to each other's kids as cousins. Katie wanted to build a stronger relationship between her kids and her close friends. She thought that us spending time with her kids, away from our own kids, would be a way to give her children more focused attention. This is especially important to her because she is an only child, her parents have passed away, her husband is an only child, and his parents have also passed away. Her children have no biological family. She's worried about what will happen to them if she were to die, as her mom died when she was a teenager, and she feels anxious about her health. 2. She doesn't feel that other people's kids need the same type of bond with her, because our kids have biological aunts, uncles, and cousins. She believes they can spend time with their biological families, and assumed we were all sending our kids to our family members, not paying a babysitter. She doesn't fully understand what that's actually like and has a romanticized view of it. She was shocked to find out that my siblings don't just drop everything to babysit my child. Even people with siblings still pay babysitters, and many did for her parties. 3. She feels that since she paid for all the food and wine, that alone should cover the expense of the babysitter, even if we did hire one. She knows that paying a sitter plus going out for dinner would still cost more, especially since she catered everything from a very expensive place. In her view, we should have just been happy to get free food and drinks, and if playing some kids' games was the price for that, it wasn't a bad price. Essentially, she initially argued that if someone pays for everything, they can decide how the event goes, and if we want a different type of gathering, we can foot the bill and host that gathering ourselves. Now, to how I handled this. That last point eventually shifted to a more understanding perspective, as I explained that even though she is technically right, she cannot maintain strong friendships with that mindset. You can't provide meals for people with strings attached and deception involved, since we didn't know until we arrived, and expect us to love it. I told her that while she can do whatever she likes, people are also free to end a friendship if they choose, so she's free to make those choices, but not free from the consequences of them. I also made it very clear to her that if her goal is to create stronger bonds for her kids, the way to do that is by loving and bonding with our kids and including them. That part seemed to be completely unexpected to her. I had to explain that people will be so upset by the fact that she isn't including their kids in kid-focused events or isn't accepting that a parent needs to take care of their own child first before focusing on hers, that they won't even want to be part of her family. That isn't what a family is. I explained that my sister never expects me to leave my child behind and only focus on my nephews. My sister would never tell me not to bring my daughter to a family event because she loves my daughter, and that, in turn, makes me love her and my nephews even more. I had to explain all of this to her. Lastly, she is wealthy and grew up rich, and as an only child, she admits that she struggles to see things from other perspectives or to consider others' feelings. She said she has to make a conscious effort to really see outside of her own wants and needs. She even mentioned that she talks about this in therapy, and that's why she goes out of her way to do nice things for us. I shared some examples of her acts of kindness in the original post, because that's her way of actively trying to be a generous and caring person. As expected, she did cry, especially when she talked about her kids not having any family and her parents passing away. I'm very glad I didn't mention it at the parties like some people suggested, because I would never have wanted her to break down in front of everyone. It's clear that this issue runs deep, and she needs therapy to continue working on it. Overall, she came around to realizing that she needs to alter her way of thinking and do things differently if she wants to achieve what she claims. She continued to reiterate how much her kids love me and how much she loves my child, too. She said she wants to do things the right way, but she's frustrated because what makes sense to her doesn't make sense to others. However, she accepts that it's up to her to adjust her thinking. There was a lot of crying and some arguing, but overall, it seems we are still friends. We hugged, and she said she is going to do something nice for everyone and their kids. If anyone still has questions about specific things that were said, I can try to answer them in the comments. I appreciate everyone's help. I felt much better going into it knowing that I was not wrong for standing my ground on this. Commenter. Wow, the nicest possible description of this woman is effing clueless. Good luck with this friendship. I can't imagine the level of emotional labor that must go into maintaining it if this lady is that baffled by some pretty basic concepts of empathy. Ops response. If you understood more about her life, it might make more sense. I'm just now starting to realize how warped some of her perceptions still are. As I mentioned, she lost her mom, and before her dad died, he didn't really nurture her, he just gave her money and a nanny to take care of her. Her nanny was her only friend. Her dad had specific issues, and I won't say more than that, but she was never allowed to have friends over or spend time with them. She was homeschooled for a while. He had beliefs that were very different from what is typical. She seems so normal at times that I forget how different her life has been, until a situation like this happens, and I realize she sees the world differently.